Hi everyone, this is Drew Wharton along with Ed Flanagan. Ed is Managing Director with Nimble Leader. He's a CPA MBA and he's Director with Expense Reduction Analysts, a global cost reduction firm with best practice capability in both indirect and direct costs. During our session today, we're going to review the Pareto Principle, supplier density, and why it is likely that 80% of your suppliers are costing you money. Okay, so let's step into our session today on Reduce Cost Now. In previous conversations, you've identified that many companies, 80% of their suppliers often cost them a great deal of money. Your position here is quite significant. You reference something called the Pareto Principle when speaking on this topic. Can you share what you mean by this?
Sure. The Pareto Principle is the 80-20 rule. And in this case, what we're saying is that 80% of a company's spend is usually through the top 20% of the vendors. So where companies have multiple sites, management may not be aware of the number of vendors. So when we find there's a lot of vendors out there, it's a good opportunity for us to save money by consolidating the vendors and having the vendors sharpen their pencil so that they can pick up more of the business from the company.
Okay, so in building on this, when you do a drill down on the subcategories in Pareto, what does this tell you?
It tells us a couple of things. If you look at the chart above, you can see in the green bar, it reflects your top 10 vendors. And it also highlights areas with larger spends that are good possibility for savings. And it also tells us which expense areas could be quick hits for savings.
So Pareto, the drill down, and then you've also mentioned something where you talk about supplier density. Why is supplier density so important in this whole process?
Well, the important thing there is that when we analyze the spend, we find that there's, if you look at the analysis up here, the top 5 vendors make up a large portion of spend. But if you look at the last $18 million of spend, that is through 94 vendors. Why do they have so many vendors and such a small spend? And then the thing is, are the top vendors treating you right? We had a situation where we showed a client recently, who the top 3 vendors were. And they said, that top vendor, I understand that they really treat us well, but that second vendor, I didn't realize that we were spending so much money with them because they don't treat us that well. And, why are there so many vendors making up such a small portion of your spend?
Okay, so this just kind of breeds inefficiency. And so this one simple thing, I think, has a huge impact in terms of where companies might be able to find prospective savings. Now, in the prior conversation, you mentioned that there are certain expense categories that provide fertile ground for immediate savings. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, again, I want to mention that we've been in business for 30 years, so we have a good handle on how much savings percentage we can get in each area. And also we have a good idea on how to phase the implementation. So there's a lot of categories that might be quick hits like payroll processing, waste management, office, and cleaning supply.
Okay, so very tangible, based on historical performance in terms of how you've worked with many, many clients. And so this seems like low-hanging fruit, that many leadership teams could access without a whole lot of effort or change in strategy. So I think that's great. Okay, everyone, this brings us to the close for our session today. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to Ed or myself. And if we have your email address, we'd be happy to send you a copy of today's slides. In our next briefing on cost reduction, we're going to focus on ways to easily mine your company financial data to find immediate term savings. We hope to see you at our next session. And finally, if you're interested in cost reduction for your business, please note, if we don't find savings for you, there is no cost to you. Thanks again for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.